Your mind never stops talking. Even when you're tired, even when you just want peace. You replay old conversations, imagine new problems, and build stories that never happened. You call it thinking, but it's not. It's noise. It's the voice that never lets you rest. Overthinking is the silent destroyer of clarity, confidence, and calm. It steals your time, your focus, and your joy. But here's the truth. Your thoughts are not your enemy. They're just untrained energy, moving without direction. Once you learn to quiet them, you unlock your real power, the power to focus on what truly matters. This book isn't about thinking less. It's about thinking right. It's about breaking the cycle of endless analysis, trusting your decisions, and living with inner stillness. Because when your mind becomes quiet, your life begins to speak. Chapter 1. The Prison Inside Your Head. You wake up, but your mind never slept. Before your eyes even open, thoughts rush in, a wave of noise flooding every corner of your consciousness. What did I say yesterday? Did they misunderstand me? What if I'm not doing enough? It's a loop that feels endless. You try to think your way out, but the more you think, the deeper you sink. Overthinking is like running on a treadmill of thoughts, exhausting but getting you nowhere. You keep moving, but your mind stays trapped in the same space. The tragedy of overthinking is that it pretends to be useful. It convinces you that worrying equals preparing, that replaying old moments equals learning, that analyzing every detail equals progress. But deep down, you know it doesn't. It drains your energy, kills your confidence, and steals your peace. Let's be honest, you've replayed conversations 100 times, trying to figure out what you should have said. You've built entire stories in your head about what someone might be thinking. You've planned every possible future, except the one that's actually happening, this one. The prison of the mind isn't built from walls or bars. It's built from fear, fear of regret, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. Every anxious thought adds another brick. Every hesitation locks another door. But here's the truth no one tells you. The key to freedom is already in your hand. You don't need to solve every thought. You need to stop believing every thought. Your mind is like the sky. Thoughts are just clouds, some dark, some light, all passing. The problem is, you've started identifying with the clouds instead of realizing you are the sky. When you stop chasing every thought, when you stop trying to fix what doesn't exist yet, that's when the clouds begin to part. Peace isn't something you find after overthinking stops. Peace begins the moment you decide not to engage in the mental war anymore. Overthinking thrives on your attention. Starve it, and it dies. You don't need to fight your thoughts. You just need to stop feeding them power. You can't think your way to peace. You can only choose it. Take a deep breath. Feel your chest rise and fall. That's you, alive right now. Not in yesterday's mistake. Not in tomorrow's fear. Just here. And here, there is no problem. Only peace. Only you. Speech balloon. The mind can be a prison, or it can be a temple. What you worship inside it determines your freedom. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Control. There's a quiet anxiety that follows you everywhere, the urge to control. You plan, you predict, you prepare. Yet somehow, nothing feels safe enough. You analyze every outcome, not because you love thinking, but because you fear uncertainty. We've been taught to believe that control equals safety. That if we can just manage every detail, plan every possibility, control every reaction, we'll be protected from failure, rejection, and regret. But life doesn't work that way. Control is a comfort we crave, not a truth we can hold. The more you try to control life, the more it slips through your fingers. You grip tighter, but the water still runs away. Think about it. How many times did you worry about something that never even happened? How many nights did you stay awake planning conversations that didn't go that way? How much energy have you wasted trying to make people understand you? People who already made up their minds. That's the illusion. The belief that if you just think enough, prepare enough, worry enough, you'll finally feel safe. But control isn't safety. It's a cage disguised as protection. When you're obsessed with controlling outcomes, you're no longer living. You're managing life like a problem to be solved. You stop experiencing the beauty of the present moment, because your mind is too busy constructing a future that might never come. The truth about uncertainty. Here's the paradox. The more you try to control life, the more chaotic it feels. The moment you surrender control, peace begins. Uncertainty is not your enemy, it's your greatest teacher. It's what keeps you growing, learning, and discovering what you're capable of. Without uncertainty, there's no adventure. Without unpredictability, there's no freedom. When you start trusting life instead of fighting it, you shift from survival mode to flow mode. You begin to understand that peace doesn't come from knowing what's next. It comes from knowing that whatever happens, you'll handle it. That's real strength. The mind's need for control. The human brain is wired for safety. When something unpredictable happens, your mind immediately tries to regain control, by thinking, by analyzing, by replaying. It's a protective mechanism. But the truth is, your mind isn't trying to protect you, it's trying to protect its comfort zone. The unknown feels dangerous, even when it's not. So your brain convinces you, don't risk it. Don't move yet. Don't decide. Think more. But thinking more doesn't make you safer, it just keeps you still. Letting go, the ultimate strength. Letting go isn't weakness. It's power in its purest form. To let go doesn't mean giving up, it means accepting what is, instead of fighting what you can't change. It means saying, I may not control the outcome, but I control my attitude. I may not know what's next, but I trust myself to adapt. That's not passivity, that's mastery. People think peace comes from control, but peace comes from surrender. You don't need to control life, you just need to align with it. Think of a river, it doesn't resist the rocks, it flows around them. That's how you should move through life. Not fighting, not forcing, just flowing. Practical reflection, learning the art of flow. Here's a practice for your next overthinking moment. When your mind spirals into what if this happens? Or what if I fail? Stop, breathe, and ask, what part of this can I control, and what part can I release? Write it down. Literally make 2 columns. Column 1, things I can control. Column 2, things I can't. You'll notice something powerful. Column 2 will always be longer. Now, take that second column, fold it, and imagine it drifting down a river. Gone. Released. Then focus only on column 1, your effort, your choices, your energy. That's your power. That's your peace. When you stop controlling, you start living. The irony of control is that the tighter you hold on, the more you lose. But when you open your hands, life finally has room to give you something new. You start to see beauty in things you used to overlook. You start to feel gratitude instead of anxiety. You start to trust instead of fear. And maybe that's the whole secret. You don't need to control the journey to reach the destination. You just need to keep walking. Let life surprise you, because it always will. Speech balloon, you don't create peace by controlling the world. You create peace by controlling your reaction to it. Chapter 3, The Endless What If Loop. What if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if they think I'm not good enough? What if I never make it? It always starts the same way. 2 small words that seem harmless, but carry the weight of a storm. What if? You think you're preparing for possibilities. But you're not. You're rehearsing pain that doesn't exist yet. Every what if is a seed of fear disguised as logic. It pretends to protect you, but all it really does is drain your energy before the battle even begins. Your mind whispers 1,000 what ifs. But have you ever noticed how few of them are positive? You never think, what if everything goes perfectly? Your brain is wired to anticipate danger, not delight. And so, you live in constant mental rehearsal of things that might go wrong. You carry conversations in your head that never happened. You relive moments that don't deserve a second thought. You imagine futures that will never come true. The mind turns into a screen that plays your fears on repeat, and you become the audience who can't look away. The psychology behind what if thinking. Your brain evolved to predict threats. It's a survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, it protected us from predators. Today, it tries to protect us from rejection, failure, embarrassment. But here's the problem. The modern mind still reacts to thoughts as if they were real dangers. That's why your heart races during anxiety, even though you're safe. That's why you can't sleep after a tough day. Your body thinks the threat is still out there. Overthinking is your brain's way of trying to prepare for pain. But all it does is make you experience it twice. Once in your mind, and once if it actually happens. And 90% of the time, it never happens. So you suffer for imaginary scenarios, punishing yourself for events that exist only in thought. The cost of what if thinking. The most dangerous thing about overthinking isn't the thoughts themselves, it's what they steal from you. They steal your present, because you're too busy living in a future that doesn't exist. They steal your energy, because fear burns faster than fuel. They steal your confidence, because you begin to doubt your ability to handle life. Every what-if creates hesitation, and hesitation kills momentum. You start saying, maybe later, until later becomes never. And in trying to avoid pain, you end up creating more of it. Because the truth is, the pain of regret is heavier than the pain of risk. From what if to even if. Here's the shift that changes everything. Replace what if with even if. What if I fail? Even if I fail, I'll grow. What if they reject me? Even if they do, I'll still be enough. What if I'm not ready? Even if I'm not, I'll learn as I go. What if paralyzes? Even if empowers. When you adopt an even if mindset, you no longer chase certainty, you build resilience. You stop trying to control outcomes and start trusting your strength. Confidence isn't about knowing what will happen. It's about believing you'll handle whatever happens. Breaking the loop. To stop overthinking, you must break the loop between fear and imagination. Here's a simple technique. Keycap 1. Catch the thought. When you hear yourself say, what if, pause. Awareness is the first step. Keycap 2. Question the evidence. Ask, do I have proof that this will happen? Most of the time, the answer is no. Keycap 3. Challenge the pattern. Turn what if I fail into what if I succeed. Balance your mental narrative. Keycap 4. Ground yourself. Take a deep breath. Feel your surroundings. Remind yourself, this moment is real. The fear is not. Do this often enough, and the loop starts to weaken. Your brain learns that not every thought deserves attention. The freedom beyond fear. Imagine living a life where fear doesn't dictate your choices. Where you act not because you're sure, but because you're brave enough to try anyway. The truth is, no one is ever 100% ready. Every person you admire once stood exactly where you are, uncertain, afraid, unsure. But they moved anyway. And that's what separates overthinkers from achievers: movement. Overthinking is motion without movement. You spin your wheels but never go forward. Action, even imperfect, breaks the cycle. So the next time your mind says, what if it doesn't work? Whisper back, what if it does? Because maybe, just maybe, it will. Speech balloon. Overthinking is the art of creating problems that don't exist. Freedom begins when you stop worshipping your fears. Chapter 4. The noise that pretends to be thought. Have you ever sat in silence, yet felt like your mind was screaming? You close your eyes to rest, but inside, there's chaos. 1,000 voices talking over each other. Worries, regrets, plans, judgments, all fighting for your attention. That's not clarity. That's not awareness. That's mental noise. And the most dangerous thing about it? It pretends to be thinking. The difference between thinking and noise. True thinking is intentional. It serves a purpose. Noise, on the other hand, is automatic. It just happens. Thinking solves problems. Noise creates them. Thinking asks, "What's my next step?" Noise screams, "What if there's no step at all?" Thinking ends with an answer. Noise never ends. It loops endlessly, feeding on your attention. And because you can hear it in your head, you mistake it for your own voice. But it's not you, it's just the echo of your fears, insecurities, and old memories. Why the mind loves noise. Your brain is addicted to stimulation. It doesn't care whether the input is useful, it just craves something. That's why when you try to relax, your mind starts throwing random thoughts at you. It's like a restless child shaking the table just to feel movement. Silence feels uncomfortable at first because your brain doesn't know what to do without noise. But beneath that discomfort lies peace, real peace. The kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. The kind that makes you feel full even when the world is empty. The cost of living in noise. Noise isn't just distracting, it's exhausting. You spend your mental energy reacting to thoughts that don't deserve your attention. Noise keeps you from listening to your intuition. It clouds your instincts, making every decision feel heavy and confusing. You start asking others for advice about your own life because you can't hear yourself anymore. When the noise becomes constant, you lose the ability to feel. You stop noticing the small joys, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of your breath, the beauty of a pause. Because to hear the music of life, you must quiet the background static. Becoming the observer, not the participant. Here's the truth, you can't stop thoughts. But you can stop believing every one of them. When a random thought appears, don't fight it, just observe it. Say to yourself, there's a thought about failure, or that's an anxious story. When you name a thought, you separate from it. And the moment you separate from it, it loses its power. You realize that you are not the noise, you are the awareness behind it. That's where true peace begins. The power of the pause. Between every thought, there's a gap, a moment of stillness. It's small, almost invisible, but it's there. If you can rest in that space, even for a second, you touch something infinite. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind. It's about noticing the space between thoughts, and learning to stay there longer. That's where clarity lives. That's where intuition speaks. That's where overthinking dies. Practical exercise. Quieting the noise. Keycap 1. Find a silent moment. Sit somewhere peaceful. Turn off music, notifications, everything. Keycap 2. Notice your thoughts. Don't control them, just watch them pass by like clouds. Keycap 3. Label them gently. That's worry. That's planning. That's self-doubt. Keycap 4. Return to your breath. Inhale. Exhale. Feel it. That's the present moment. Do this daily, and you'll train your brain to stop confusing noise with thought. You'll start to hear something deeper, your real voice. Beyond the noise. Imagine living without that constant inner chatter. Where you make choices without fear whispering in your ear. Where you wake up and actually feel light. That's not fantasy, that's your natural state. The noise was never you. It was just the static covering your truth. When the noise fades, you rediscover yourself, calm, confident, creative. Because silence doesn't mean emptiness. Silence means space, for joy, for clarity, for peace. And when you finally hear the silence, you'll realize it's been waiting for you all along. Speech balloon silence isn't the absence of thought, it's the presence of awareness. Chapter 5. The Illusion of Control. Why you can't plan peace. We plan our days, our futures, our dreams, and secretly, our fears. We plan conversations that haven't happened. We plan responses to rejections that may never come. We plan so much that we forget to live. Control feels safe. It gives us the illusion that if we think hard enough, nothing will go wrong. But the truth is harsh. You can't control peace. You can only allow it. The hidden fear behind control. Why do we overthink? Because we fear uncertainty. And control feels like a weapon against the unknown. We believe, if I just think this through one more time, I'll find a way to avoid pain. But that one more time becomes 10 more times, then 100. Soon, your thoughts become a cage disguised as protection. You're not controlling life, you're controlling yourself into paralysis. You say you're preparing, but you're really just postponing courage. The lie of, if I just knew more. Overthinkers live in the kingdom of if only. If only I had more information, I'd feel calm. If only I could predict how they'll react, I'd make the right choice. If only I knew the outcome, I'd finally take the step. But peace doesn't come from knowing. It comes from trusting. Trust that whatever happens, you'll handle it. Trust that your intuition knows more than your fears ever will. Trust that you don't need to control every detail for life to unfold beautifully. Because here's the secret: control doesn't guarantee safety. It only guarantees exhaustion. The control trap. When you control too much, you lose flexibility. You stop flowing with life and start fighting it. Imagine holding sand in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Peace works the same way. You can't grip it, you can only open your hand and let it rest there. Overthinkers are like surfers trying to command the ocean. But the wise ones don't fight the wave, they ride it. That's what peace is, not the absence of chaos, but the art of riding it gracefully. The paradox of surrender. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means stopping the war with what is. It means saying, I don't know how this will go, but I trust myself enough to find my way. That's real strength. Because trying to control everything is fear. But trusting yourself, that's power. When you let go, you make space for life to surprise you. And sometimes, those surprises are better than anything you could have planned. Practical shift, from control to clarity. Here's how you begin to release control without losing direction. Keycap 1: Define what you can control. Your effort, your mindset, your reactions, that's your domain. Keycap 2: Release what you can't. People's opinions, the past, the future, that's not yours to hold. Keycap 3: Set intentions, not expectations. Intentions guide your energy, expectations create pressure. Keycap 4: Replace planning with presence. Focus on the step in front of you, not the entire staircase. The peace that follows letting go. When you stop forcing outcomes, something magical happens. You start experiencing life instead of managing it. Conversations flow more naturally. Opportunities appear without force. Decisions become easier because you're no longer fighting yourself. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. You can't plan peace. You can only create the conditions for it to appear. And those conditions are simple. Presence. Acceptance. Trust. Remember this. Peace doesn't come when everything goes according to plan. It comes when you stop needing a plan to feel peaceful. You'll never control every wave. But you can always learn how to surf. And when you finally stop overthinking, you'll realize the ocean was never against you. It was only waiting for you to let go. Speech balloon: the moment you stop controlling life, life starts taking care of you. Chapter 6: The Fear of Making the Wrong Choice, Escaping Decision Paralysis. There's a moment right before every big decision. A heavy stillness where your heart says yes, but your mind screams what if. That's where overthinking thrives. In that small space between courage and doubt. You tell yourself you're being careful, but what you're really doing is trying to avoid regret. You don't fear the choice itself. You fear the possibility that you might blame yourself later for choosing wrong. The truth: every choice comes with a cost. No decision is perfect. Every path you take closes off a dozen others. But that's not failure, that's life. The illusion of the perfect choice keeps you stuck. You wait for a moment when all risks vanish. All variables align, and clarity feels absolute. But that moment never comes. Because growth doesn't come from choosing perfectly. It comes from choosing bravely. Overthinking is a form of self-protection. When you delay a decision, your mind whispers, "I just need to think a bit more." But underneath that is fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of judgment, fear of loss. You replay every possible outcome, imagining what could go wrong. You try to think your way into certainty. But certainty doesn't come from thinking. It comes from trusting. Every successful person you admire once stood exactly where you are. Unsure, scared, uncertain. They didn't wait for fear to fade. They acted despite it. Why you'll never be 100% sure. You can research, analyze, and plan endlessly. But no amount of thinking will erase uncertainty. Life doesn't reveal its cards until you play yours. And sometimes, the only way to know what's right is to move forward and find out. Even if you choose wrong, you gain something priceless: clarity. And clarity is far more valuable than comfort. The psychology of decision paralysis. The brain hates uncertainty. It's wired to minimize risk and avoid pain. So when a decision feels risky, your brain floods you with what-ifs. What if I fail? What if I regret this? What if I'm not ready? But notice the pattern. Every what-if keeps you safe, not successful. It's a defense mechanism that feels intelligent but secretly robs your momentum. Overthinking is your brain's way of avoiding emotional discomfort, not finding truth. The antidote: permission to be wrong. The cure to decision paralysis isn't perfect logic, it's self-compassion. Give yourself permission to choose wrong. Because when you remove the punishment of regret, you remove the fear of choice. You'll realize that there's no such thing as a wrong decision. There are only different lessons. Every turn teaches you something about who you are, what you value, and what you're capable of handling. And that's worth more than standing still. The 3-step clarity framework. Keycap 1: shorten the distance between thinking and acting. The more time you spend analyzing, the heavier your fear becomes. Make small, quick decisions to build confidence. Keycap 2: define success before you choose. Ask, what does success really look like for me right now? Sometimes the best decision isn't the safest, it's the most aligned. Keycap 3: reflect, don't regret. Once a choice is made, stop reopening it. Reflection helps you grow, regret keeps you stuck. When you stop fearing wrong choices, something powerful happens when you let go of the need to be right. You start moving. Momentum replaces hesitation. Courage replaces confusion. You become less obsessed with outcomes and more in love with the journey. Remember, you're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're supposed to figure it out as you go. That's how every strong mind is built. Through choices, through mistakes, through experience. Quote to keep close. Speech balloon: the wrong decision made with conviction will take you further than the right decision made in fear. Chapter 7. The stories your mind tells. How to stop believing every thought. Your mind is a storyteller. And sometimes, it tells horror stories. You imagine losing everything before you even start. You create conflicts that never happened. You hear one silence from someone, and your mind writes a full tragedy. It's not because you're weak. It's because your brain evolved to protect you. It's scanning for danger, replaying scenarios, trying to predict pain. But in the modern world, that survival instinct becomes anxiety. Your mind thinks it's keeping you safe. But often, it's just keeping you stuck. Every thought isn't the truth. Most people never question their thoughts. They assume that if they think something, it must mean something real. But here's the truth. Your thoughts are not facts. They're interpretations, stories filtered through your past experiences, fears, and biases. For example, someone doesn't text back, your mind says, they're ignoring me. But the truth might be, they're just busy. Your mind fills in the blanks with your worst fears. And those blanks become beliefs. When you believe every story your mind tells, you live in a world that doesn't exist. How your mind creates fiction. The mind is like a movie studio that never stops producing. It takes bits of memory, emotion, and imagination, and creates a movie you think is reality. That movie has a villain, usually your fear, a victim, you, and a plot twist, what could go wrong? But here's the catch, your mind is both the screenwriter and the audience. It creates the story, then reacts emotionally to it. You scare yourself with your own imagination. Thoughts versus awareness. Think of your thoughts like clouds. They pass through the sky of your awareness. You are not the clouds. You are the sky. This is the most powerful mental shift you can make. When you stop identifying with every thought, you create space, a small gap between what you think and what you believe. And that gap is freedom. The key isn't to stop thinking. It's to stop believing everything you think. The emotional echo. When you believe a thought, your body reacts as if it's true. You imagine losing your job, your heart races. You replay an argument, your muscles tighten. You picture failure, your stomach drops. Your brain doesn't distinguish between imagined danger and real danger. So when you live in mental stories, your body pays the price. Overthinking isn't just mental, it's physical. It drains your energy, your sleep, your confidence. All because your mind is reacting to fiction as if it's fact. The practice of observation. Here's a small daily habit that rewires this pattern. Whenever a stressful thought appears, say to yourself, "This is just a thought, not a truth." Then ask, "Is this fact or fear? Can I know this is true right now? What else could be true instead?" That one moment of inquiry breaks the spell. The story loses power the instant you question it. You move from being inside your thoughts to watching them. And the observer always has peace. Rewriting the story. Once you detach from harmful thoughts, you can rewrite them. Instead of, "I'll probably fail," say, "I'm learning something that might work." Instead of, "They don't care about me," say, "They may be showing care differently." Instead of, "I can't do this," say, "I haven't figured it out yet." This isn't toxic positivity. It's truth, balanced, realistic truth. Because most of your pain doesn't come from reality. It comes from your interpretation of it. When you stop believing every thought, life feels lighter. You stop personalizing everything. You begin to experience moments as they are, not as your mind dramatizes them. You'll laugh more, judge less, and finally breathe again. Remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that hears them. And you always have the power to choose which stories deserve your belief. Speech balloon, you can't control your thoughts, but you can control which ones you trust. Chapter 8. The Cost of Constant Analysis. When thinking too much becomes self-sabotage. You tell yourself you're being smart, that you're just thinking it through. You replay conversations, analyze options, weigh possibilities, and imagine outcomes. You call it being prepared. But what you're really doing, Janie, is exhausting yourself in the name of clarity. Because there's a fine line between analysis and self-sabotage. And most people cross it every single day. The illusion of smart thinking. Overthinking often disguises itself as intelligence. You think, "I'm not stuck, I'm just being careful." But deep down you're afraid. You think if you analyze hard enough, you'll avoid failure. You believe the more information you gather, the safer you'll be. But the truth is, no amount of thinking can erase risk. And the longer you stay in your head, the further you drift from your life. The mental spiral. Here's how it happens. Keycap 1, you face a decision. Keycap 2, you start analyzing every angle. Keycap 3, you find new possibilities, which create new fears. Keycap 4, you analyze those fears. Keycap 5, now you're lost in an endless maze of what-ifs. What started as a simple question, "What should I do?" turns into a storm of doubts. The more you think, the less you act. And the less you act, the more anxious you become. It's not because you don't know what to do. It's because your mind has made doing feel dangerous. The emotional toll of overanalysis. Overthinking doesn't just delay your actions, it kills your spirit. It drains your energy. It makes you second-guess your instincts. It turns your natural intelligence into a weapon against yourself. And worst of all, it convinces you that peace will come after you think enough. But peace doesn't come from thinking. It comes from deciding. Every minute spent overanalyzing is a minute stolen from living. When intelligence becomes the enemy. Highly intelligent people often suffer most from overthinking. Because they're too good at imagining possibilities. They can picture every way something might go wrong. And that mental power turns against them. It's like having a high-performance car but never taking it out of the garage. Because you're afraid of scratching the paint. You're not supposed to use your mind only for prediction. You're supposed to use it for creation. When your thinking becomes a shield against action, your intelligence has turned into self-sabotage. The paradox of clarity. You'll never think your way into perfect clarity. Clarity doesn't come before action. It comes from action. You learn what's right by trying. You discover what works by doing. Every great creator, leader, or thinker learned this truth. Action teaches faster than thought. You can spend 10 days thinking about a step. Or 10 minutes taking it. One will give you anxiety, the other, experience. Breaking the cycle. Here's how you stop letting analysis turn into paralysis. Keycap 1, set thinking limits. When faced with a decision, give yourself a time boundary. I'll think about this for 30 minutes, then I'll decide. Keycap 2, use the 80% rule. You don't need 100% certainty to act. If you're 80% sure, move forward. The last 20% will come from experience. Keycap 3, embrace mistakes. Overthinking is fear of imperfection. But mistakes aren't disasters, they're data. Every misstep is a lesson in disguise. Keycap 4, replace thinking with doing. The next time you catch yourself spiraling, ask, "What's one small action I can take right now?" Movement kills overthinking. The freedom of enough thinking. When you finally stop analyzing every detail, you feel something you've been craving all along: peace. Your decisions become lighter. Your mind feels clearer. You trust yourself again. You realize you don't need the perfect plan. You just need the next step. And that's how you outgrow overthinking. Not by silencing your thoughts, but by proving to yourself that you can move despite them. Speech balloon. Thinking helps you plan your life. Acting helps you live it. So stop trying to find the perfect answer. You already have what you need: courage, awareness, and a mind ready to serve you, not control you. Because once you stop overanalyzing, you start experiencing. And that's where all peace and progress begins. Chapter 9. The Art of Detachment. How to let go of things you can't control. There comes a point when holding on hurts more than letting go. We grip tightly to people, outcomes, and expectations, believing that control equals safety. But the truth is, the tighter we hold, the more life slips through our fingers. Detachment is not about not caring. It's about caring without clinging. It's about finding peace, not in what happens, but in how we respond to it. Why we hold on. Humans are wired to attach, to people, to goals, to ideals, to the way things should be. We attach because it gives us identity and stability. But attachment easily becomes dependency. When life doesn't go according to plan, the mind panics. What if I lose this? What if I never get it back? What if everything changes? And so, we grip harder. But peace doesn't come from control, it comes from trust. The harder you try to control life, the more you suffer. The moment you let go, everything begins to flow again. Understanding detachment. Detachment isn't coldness. It's the quiet strength of someone who understands that life is movement, not possession. To detach means to love without fear, to act without obsession, to dream without desperation. It means recognizing that not everything is meant to be yours, and that sometimes, what leaves makes space for what's meant to arrive. When you detach, you shift from forcing to allowing. You begin to live in harmony with what is, rather than fighting for what was. The illusion of control. Most suffering begins with the illusion that we can control the uncontrollable. We can't control how people feel about us. We can't control time, outcomes, or other people's choices. We can only control our effort, our focus, and our response. The moment we accept this truth, the burden lightens. We stop wasting energy on things that were never ours to manage. And in that space, we find clarity and peace. Signs you're attached too tightly. You replay events and conversations, trying to fix them mentally. You feel anxious when someone doesn't react the way you hoped. You can't stop checking, worrying, or predicting what might happen next. You feel responsible for other people's happiness. Each of these is a symptom of misplaced responsibility, trying to control what's outside your reach. Detachment begins when you learn to return your power to where it belongs, within yourself. How to practice letting go. Keycap 1. Observe instead of react. When something triggers you, pause. Notice your emotions without immediately reacting. Awareness breaks the chain of attachment. Keycap 2. Stop trying to rewrite the past. You can't change what's happened, but you can change what it means. Replace "why did this happen to me" with "what is this teaching me?" Keycap 3. Accept uncertainty as a teacher. Peace comes not from knowing everything, but from trusting yourself in the unknown. Keycap 4. Shift focus to the present. Detachment is rooted in presence. The more you anchor yourself in now, the less you fear losing tomorrow. The strength of letting go. Letting go is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's realizing that life doesn't need your constant control to unfold beautifully. There is freedom in understanding that not everything must stay for you to grow. People, moments, and experiences come and go. Each one shaping you, preparing you, refining you. When you stop gripping what's leaving, your hands are finally free to receive what's meant for you. Living detached, yet fully alive. True detachment doesn't dull your emotions, it deepens them. You still love, dream, and give, but without fear of loss. You stop seeking validation and start embodying peace. You no longer chase what's unstable, you become what's stable. And in that transformation, the noise of the world begins to quiet. Remember this. Peace isn't found by mastering control. It's found by mastering surrender. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to float, calmly, gracefully, powerfully. And when you do, you'll discover that letting go isn't losing. It's coming home, to yourself. Speech balloon. You will never find peace by fighting what is. Peace begins the moment you stop needing things to be different. Chapter 10. The Power of Presence. How to live in the now and find peace in every moment. You've spent years trapped inside the walls of your mind, overanalyzing, second-guessing, replaying every detail of what could have been. The mind is a master storyteller. It weaves fear from memory and anxiety from imagination. But here's the truth. None of that is happening now. Right now, in this very moment, there is only this breath. There is no past to fix. No future to fear. There is only presence, and that is where peace begins. The noise of a restless mind. A restless mind is like a storm, loud, unending, and disorienting. It jumps between what was and what might be, never stopping long enough to feel what is. The irony is that the mind searches endlessly for peace while standing in the very place peace already lives, the present moment. You can't think your way to peace. You can only feel your way to it. And feeling begins when thinking pauses. When you truly arrive in the present, something miraculous happens. The noise fades. The same world that once felt heavy begins to soften. Colors seem brighter, air feels lighter, and time slows down. That's not magic. That's awareness. Why we struggle to stay here. We escape the present because it feels uncomfortable. We distract ourselves because stillness exposes truth. The truth of what we fear, what we regret, and what we long for. But running from the moment doesn't protect you. It only delays healing. Presence requires courage. The courage to sit with yourself, without judgment or escape. To feel what you've avoided. To forgive what you've carried. To breathe through what you can't control. When you finally stop fighting the now, you realize you were never broken, only busy avoiding your own peace. The practice of presence. Presence is not something you achieve once. It's something you return to, again and again. Keycap 1. Breathe consciously. Every time your mind drifts, bring it back to your breath. It's your anchor, the thread that ties you to this moment. Keycap 2. Observe without judgment. Notice your thoughts as they rise and fall. Don't label them as good or bad, just watch them pass, like clouds crossing the sky. Keycap 3. Engage with your senses. Listen to the quiet hum of life around you. Feel the weight of your body, the air against your skin, the rhythm of your heartbeat. The present always speaks, if you choose to listen. Keycap 4. Be where you are. When you eat, eat. When you walk, walk. When you love, love. Simplicity is the gateway to peace. Finding freedom in now. You don't find peace by reaching somewhere new. You find it by realizing you're already there. The mind wants movement, it wants progress, resolution, control. But life's real beauty isn't in what's next, it's in what's here. When you surrender to the moment, when you trust that right now is enough, the chains of overthinking break. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to live differently. You discover that peace isn't a destination. It's a decision to be where your life is actually happening. Living beyond the mind. Overthinking will try to return. It always does. But now, you'll meet it differently, not as an enemy, but as an echo of who you used to be. When thoughts start to spiral, don't run or resist. Smile. Breathe. Say to yourself, I am here now. Because that single awareness, I am here now, is enough to bring you back to freedom. Outro, your new beginning. And now, as this journey comes to an end, you must understand, this isn't the end at all. It's a new beginning. You've learned that peace is not found by escaping your mind, but by befriending it. You've learned that overthinking is not a curse, it's simply an untrained mind seeking control. And you've learned that you don't have to fight your thoughts to be free. You just have to stop believing every one of them. From this day forward, choose presence over perfection. Choose awareness over analysis. Choose peace over noise. Whenever your mind begins to spiral, return to your breath. Remind yourself, the past cannot hurt me. The future cannot scare me. The present is enough. You are not your thoughts. You are the calm behind them. You are the stillness beneath the storm. You are the silence that remains when overthinking fades away. And in that silence, you'll finally hear the voice that was waiting all along. The voice of peace. End of book. Stop overthinking everything. A journey to quiet the mind and reclaim your inner peace.